I used to think my life was a classic high school romance, the kind where the underdog saves the prom queen. It wasn't until later that I realized it was just a sick game played by a rich socialite and a bored golden boy. I wasn't the lead. I was the most pathetic prop in their collection. Level 1. To save the it girl, I threw myself in front of a car. My legs were crushed, leaving me a permanent cripple. Level 2. She publicly accused me of harassment, locked me away, and treated me like a stray dog on a leash. Level 3. My only sister, Maya, begged them for mercy. In return, they sold her to a private club where she was tormented until she couldn't take it anymore. The final boss, my so-called best friend, stood over me at Maya's funeral, his arm around the girl I thought I loved, and laid it all bare. I staged the accident, Caleb. And your sister's life? That was just my tribute to her. He laughed, a sound that still haunts me. Trash like you should be honored to be our plaything. The game ended when I jumped from the roof of a 20-story building. But then the world reset. The weightless sensation of falling vanished, replaced by the white-hot agony of bones being pulverized. I opened my eyes. The air was filled with the screech of burning rubber and the piercing scream of Chloe Sterling. A black sedan was careening out of control, barreling toward the curb at 60 miles per hour. Chloe, dressed in a pristine white sundress, stood frozen in its path. Beside me stood Tyler Bennett, my best friend. His face was twisted into a mask of calculated panic. Caleb, move. Save her. In my past life, those words had been my trigger. I had lunged forward without a second thought. That split second of heroism cost me the rest of my life and led to Maya's agonizing death. A torrent of hatred and pain rolled through my chest like molten lead, searing my heart. But my face remained a mask of icy calm. I didn't move. Tyler looked at me, his eyes wide with genuine confusion. He urged me again, louder this time. Caleb, what are you waiting for? Go. I turned my head and looked him dead in the eye. He looked back, his facade flickering. I smiled. Hey man, here's your chance to be the hero. Don't let it pass you by. My voice was a whisper, meant only for his ears. Before he could process the doubt in my eyes, I grabbed his arm. With every ounce of strength I possessed, I lunged forward, not to save Chloe, but to propel Tyler directly into the space between her and the oncoming car. It happened in the blink of an eye. Tyler didn't even have time to shout. Crunch. The impact sounded like a heavy bag of wet sand hitting a wall. Tyler was tossed through the air like a rag doll, his body tracing a grim arc before slamming into the asphalt. His left leg was twisted at an impossible, sickening angle. A guttural, agonizing scream finally tore from his throat. Chloe, completely unharmed, collapsed to the ground, trembling. She looked at me with a gaze full of pure, unadulterated terror, as if she were looking at a demon that had crawled out of the pits of hell. Pedestrians screamed. People began fumbling for their phones to call 911. I walked over slowly, stepping right past Chloe, who was shaking like a leaf. I knelt beside Tyler. He was drenched in sweat, his face pale, his lips quivering from the shock. I wiped a fake tear from my eye, my face projecting nothing but frantic concern for the benefit of the crowd. Tyler, oh my God, are you okay? You saved her. I shouted, making sure everyone heard. That was so brave, man. You're a hero. Then, I leaned down, my lips inches from his ear, and spoke in a tone that froze the blood in his veins. How does it feel to have your legs crushed? You son of a bitch. Tyler's pupils dilated. His face, already contorted in pain, twisted into an expression of utter disbelief. He tried to speak, but the agony only allowed him to let out a series of wet, ragged gasps. I leaned even closer, shielding my face from the onlookers, and mouthed a silent sentence to his broken, writhing form. The game is just beginning. This time, I'm the one setting the levels, and not one of you is getting out alive. The sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. I stood up, watching with cold indifference as the paramedics hoisted a screaming Tyler onto a stretcher. Chloe finally found her voice. She pointed a trembling finger at me, her voice shrill and cracked. Caleb Reed, it was you. You pushed him. I lowered my eyes, the picture of grief and innocence. Chloe, I know you're in shock, but how can you say that? Tyler threw himself in front of that car for you. How can you accuse me like this? The crowd began to mutter. What is wrong with that girl? The guy just saved her life, and she's turning on his friend. Look at the poor kid. He's devastated. Chloe shook with rage, but there were no words that could save her. Her beautiful face turned a deep, frustrated red as she stood there, watched by the judgmental eyes of the public, while I played the role of the misunderstood best friend to perfection. I looked up, meeting her gaze. It was full of venom and confusion. Good. Let the first level of the game begin with your own mutual suspicion. I followed the ambulance to the hospital, waiting for the real show to start. The hospital air was thick with the sterile, choking scent of antiseptic. Tyler lay in a private VIP suite, his left leg encased in a heavy cast and hoisted toward the ceiling by a system of pulleys. Tyler's parents, a power couple draped in designer labels, were clutching my hands, their faces wet with tears of gratitude. Caleb, thank you so much. If you hadn't reacted so quickly, if Tyler hadn't been there to step up, I can't even imagine. Tyler's mother sobbed into a silk handkerchief. I felt a cold sneer forming in the back of my mind. Yeah, if I hadn't reacted quickly, I'd be the one in that bed right now. I forced a look of somber humility. Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, please. This was all Tyler. He's the brave one. I was just frozen. I didn't do anything. I pushed all the credit onto Tyler, scrubbing myself clean of the incident. Tyler's father clapped a hand on my shoulder. You're a good kid, Caleb. Too modest. You're a friend of the family for life. If you ever need anything, you just ask. I nodded, looking overwhelmed by the gesture. Once the parents stepped out to speak with the surgeon, I picked up a gift basket and walked to Tyler's bedside. His face was ghostly white. The way he looked at me was a volatile mix of hatred, terror, and deep, gnawing confusion. I pulled up a chair, sat down, and pulled a red, delicious apple from the basket. I began to peel it slowly and methodically with a small pocket knife. How are you feeling, champ? He glared at me, his voice a jagged rasp. Caleb, what? My hand stopped. I looked up, the picture of wide-eyed innocence. Why? Why what, Tyler? Why did you push me? He hissed the words through gritted teeth, his voice barely a whisper. I widened my eyes in feigned shock. Push you? Man, that crash must have rattled your brain. When did I ever push you? You lunged out there yourself. Everyone saw it. I sliced a small piece of the apple and held it out to him on the tip of the knife. Here, have some fruit. You need the vitamins. He slapped my hand away, and the apple slice skittered across the floor. Stop lying. I heard you. I heard what you whispered in my ear. I withdrew my hand, the smile slowly dying on my face. Oh, and what did I say? You said, the game is just beginning. I nodded slowly, picked the apple slice off the floor, and tossed it into the trash can. I guess your brain isn't as scrambled as I thought. Tyler's breathing became shallow and panicked. Who are you? How did you know? Know what? I asked, my voice smooth and low. Know that you staged the accident? Or that you were planning on making me the hero so you could own me for the rest of my life? With every word, Tyler's face grew a shade paler. The terror in his eyes was nearly overflowing. You're a monster. I laughed. I'm not a monster, Tyler. I'm just a ghost who crawled out of hell for a little payback. I leaned in close. That car? Perfect timing, wasn't it? Chloe just happens to be standing there, and the car just happens to lose control right at that second. Almost like it was choreographed. Tyler's lips began to tremble. Lucky you were so heroic, right? I continued my analysis. Otherwise, Chloe might have actually been hurt. And she's so pretty, so well off. It would be such a shame if someone was jealous enough to try and ruin her life. Every word was a hammer blow to his nerves. He knew exactly what he'd planned, to have me save Chloe so I could be the first pawn in their sick social game. But he couldn't wrap his mind around how I knew. Just then, the door swung open. Chloe walked in. The moment she saw me, her face contorted with blatant disgust. But when she looked at Tyler, there was no pity, only impatience and a simmering resentment. Tyler, you idiot. How could you screw something so simple up? She snapped, not even acknowledging his injury. Now you've got a broken leg, and the whole thing is a mess. How are we supposed to keep playing now? Her voice was sharp, cruel, and completely devoid of empathy. Tyler's face turned a bruised shade of purple. I immediately flipped back into my innocent mode, standing up and looking hurt. Chloe, how can you talk to him like that? He saved your life. Shut up, Chloe barked. You're a nobody. You don't get a seat at this table. She looked at Tyler with nothing but contempt. You were supposed to let your little lapdog be the hero, but you had to go and mess it up yourself. I really overestimated you, Tyler. With a dramatic huff, she slammed the door behind her. The room fell into a deathly silence. Tyler lay there, his body vibrating with a mixture of rage and humiliation. I let out a sad sigh and patted his shoulder. Don't take it to heart, man. She's just stressed. She doesn't mean it. I stood up to leave. Get some rest. I'll see you later. The moment the door clicked shut behind me, every trace of emotion vanished from my face. In its place was a cold, sharp sense of satisfaction. Chloe's arrogance and Tyler's growing resentment. Those would be the sharpest blades in my arsenal. I didn't go home. Instead, I headed to a high-end pawn shop downtown. I pulled the watch off my wrist, a gift from Tyler in my past life, supposedly a symbol of our brotherhood. Looking back, it was just a gilded leash. I walked out with $3,000 in cash. I went straight to a boutique and bought the designer dress my sister, Maya, had been eyeing for months but could never justify buying. Then I called her. "Hey Maya, work busy. Not too bad. Why, Caleb? Do you need more grocery money?" Her voice was warm, a balm to my soul. My throat tightened as the image of her body in that morgue flashed through my mind. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "No, I'm good. Hey, just be careful coming home, okay? Don't stay out too late. And don't trust anyone offering you a dream job out of the blue. In this life, I wouldn't let anyone touch a hair on her head." When I got back to Northridge Prep, the rumors about the accident were spreading like wildfire. To the student body, I was the pity friend who got overshadowed by his best friend's bravery. Tyler was the knight in shining armor. And Chloe? She was the ungrateful ice queen who had yelled at her savior. Everything was going exactly as planned. Chloe's life was becoming a nightmare. Everywhere she went, people whispered behind her back. For the first time, the Golden Girl's halo was tarnished. Knowing her, she wouldn't take it lying down. She didn't dare take it out on Tyler while he was still the school hero, so she turned all her venom toward me. Monday morning, I arrived to find a crowd gathered around the main bulletin board. A flyer printed in bold red letters was pinned front and center. Lost, Tiffany diamond necklace. Value, $15,000. Belonging to Chloe Sterling. Last seen Friday in the East Wing. A witness has identified Caleb Reed, senior, class of 2024, as a person of interest. Return immediately or police will be involved. Below the text was my school ID photo. It was a blatant frame-up. Students whispered and pointed as I walked by. Did he really steal it? He always seems so quiet. I guess you never know. 15 grand? That's more than his family makes in a year. In my previous life, I had been cornered by Chloe and her clique right here. They had forced me to my knees, screaming that I was a thief. I tried to explain, but it only earned me a beating and public humiliation. Then, Tyler had magically appeared to play the peacemaker and save me. I had been so grateful. Pathetic. This time, I looked at the flyer and felt nothing but amusement. I didn't even give them the satisfaction of a reaction as I walked into class. Chloe was already in her seat, surrounded by her cronies. They were all wearing smirks, waiting for the show. I ignored them, sat down, and opened my textbook. My calm seemed to infuriate her. As soon as the first bell rang, Chloe marched into the room, followed by Dean Harrison and 2 campus security guards. "Caleb Reed, stand up," she barked. The class went silent. Dean Harrison adjusted his glasses, looking stern. "Caleb, a student has reported that you are in possession of stolen property. We need you to cooperate with a search." I stood up slowly, my expression neutral. "Dean, I haven't stolen anything." "We'll see about that." Chloe snapped. "I know it's in your locker." I looked at her, my voice level. "Fine. Search it. But if you don't find it, Chloe, you're going to apologize to me in front of the entire school." Chloe hesitated for a fraction of a second, then sneered. "Deal. Let's see how long you keep that smug look on your face." The entire class followed us to the lockers. Chloe practically danced with anticipation as the guard cut the lock. The door swung open to reveal a few textbooks and a spare gym hoodie. It was spotless. There was no necklace. Chloe's face turned a blotchy white. "Impossible. He must have moved it." One of her friends, a girl named Ashley, piped up. I saw him yesterday. He was acting sketchy behind the old gymnasium near the abandoned storage units." Chloe grabbed onto that like a lifeline. "Yes, that's it. He hid it there. Dean, you have to search the old units." I watched their amateur theater with a cold heart. In my last life, they had hidden the necklace there, and it had been found just in time to ruin me. But this time the script had changed. Before the dean could move, a voice rang out from the crowd. "Wait a second." It was Sophia Miller, the class valedictorian and Chloe's longtime rival. She walked up to the dean, holding her phone. "Dean Harrison, before you go on a wild goose chase, you should hear this. I was recording a TikTok in a bathroom earlier and caught a very interesting conversation." She hit play. Chloe and Ashley's voices came through the speakers, loud and clear. "It's in the old gym locker. Just say we saw him put it there. He's poor. No one will believe him over us anyway." The silence that followed was deafening. The eyes of every student shifted from me to Chloe. Her face went from white to red, then back to a sickly gray. It was a cocktail of shock, shame, and pure malice. Dean Harrison looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. "Miss Sterling, this is absolutely unacceptable." The principal was called. They went to the gym and found the necklace exactly where the recording said it would be. Physical evidence. Absolute proof. As Chloe stood there, being grilled by the dean while the rest of the school watched with disgust, I walked up to her. "Chloe," I said softly, my voice carrying in the quiet hall. "I believe you owe me an apology." It wasn't a loud request, but it felt like a slap. She bit her lip so hard it bled, her eyes burning with a desire to kill me. But she couldn't say a word. Chloe was forced to issue a formal apology over the school's PA system and was given a 2-week suspension. For someone who lived for her reputation, it was a crushing blow. Her status at Northridge Prep hit rock bottom. But I knew this would only make her and Tyler more desperate. Sure enough, Tyler was discharged from the hospital. He returned to school on crutches, his empty pant leg pinned up, his eyes full of a dark, brooding venom. They were done playing games. They wanted blood. I could feel the net closing in. But I knew Tyler's style. He liked the direct approach, something that would destroy a person's future instantly. Drugs. Friday after school, I took a detour through a quiet, narrow alleyway. Predictably, 3 guys in hoodies blocked my path. The leader was a guy with bleached blonde hair. I remembered him. He was the one who had actually broken my legs in an accident in my past life. "Walk with us, kid," Blondie said with a jagged grin. I didn't fight. As they pushed me deeper into the shadows, I reached into my pocket and clicked the record button on a hidden device. Simultaneously, I used a second burner phone on my sleeve to dial a number I'd memorized, the local narcotics tip line. I didn't speak. I just kept the line open. In the alley, the blonde guy pulled out his phone. "Boss, we got him." "Yeah, consider it done." He hung up and pulled a small plastic bag of white powder from his jacket. "You mess with the wrong people, kid. Today, you're going to have a little accident with some high-grade blow." My heart hammered against my ribs. In my past life, they had used this exact method to get my sister hooked, leading to her death. The rage was a screaming physical weight in my chest. I played the part, backing away with feigned terror. "Who sent you? Was it Tyler? Or Chloe?" I shouted the names, making sure the tip line and the recorder picked them up clearly. The blonde guy laughed. "Think of it as a gift from Tyler and Chloe. They wanted us to film you getting high, so you never show your face in this town again." He stepped forward to shove the bag into my pocket. At that exact moment, the wail of sirens erupted from both ends of the alley. Blue and red lights reflected off the brick walls. The thugs panicked. "Cops! Go, go, go!" Blondie, in a moment of pure lizard brain panic, stuffed the bag back in his own pocket as he tried to scramble over a fence. He didn't make it. "Police! Don't move! Hands in the air!" Not far away, parked in a black Porsche, Chloe Sterling held her phone up, ready to record the video of my overdose. Instead, she caught the high-definition footage of her hired muscle being slammed into the pavement by the Seattle PD. But that wasn't the killing blow. Before I'd entered the alley, I had called Tyler from a burner phone. I didn't say anything, just let the call connect for 10 seconds. That call record, combined with the thugs' confessions and the recording of them explicitly naming Tyler and Chloe, created an airtight chain of evidence. The police found the cocaine on the blonde guy. When the cops knocked on Tyler's front door later that night, he was still in the car with Chloe, staring at the news report on his phone, his face the color of ash. His chat logs with Chloe were still open on the screen. This time, he's never coming back. Turns out, he was the one who wouldn't be coming back. The police cuffed Tyler's one good wrist. His parents came screaming out of the house. "There must be a mistake. Our son is a hero." "Mr. Bennett, your son is being charged with solicitation of a crime and conspiracy to distribute a controlled substance. He needs to come with us." I watched from the shadows down the street. Tyler, Chloe, this was just the appetizer. The real meal was coming. Every ounce of pain they had inflicted on Maya was going to be returned 1,000-fold. Tyler was held without bail. The charges were serious, and the evidence was overwhelming. The Bennett family's influence began to crumble under the weight of a federal drug investigation. Chloe immediately went into survival mode. She told everyone who would listen that she was a victim, that Tyler had manipulated and threatened her into going along with his crazy schemes. She even went to the dean, crying, claiming Tyler had been stalking her. She deserved an Oscar for that performance. But I didn't care about schoolyard drama anymore. I was going for the throat. I remembered something from my past life. Tyler, during a drunken bender, had once bragged to me about his father's golden ticket, a massive real estate development project called the South Waterfront Project. It was the Bennett family's legacy, their entire fortune tied up in one secret deal. He had laughed about a massive legal loophole in the land rights that only their inner circle knew about. Back then, I just thought it was drunk talk. Now, it was the knife I was going to twist. I went to an internet cafe across town and opened an encrypted email account. I compiled every detail I could remember about the land rights loophole and the project's hidden liabilities. I sent it anonymously to the Bennett family's biggest rival, the Sterling Group, Chloe's own father. Then, I wiped my tracks and went home like nothing had happened. The reaction was faster than I expected. A week later, the local business journals exploded. The South Waterfront project had been sniped. The Sterling Group had used the anonymous tip to launch a hostile takeover of the land rights at a fraction of the cost, leaving the Bennett family with tens of millions in sunk costs and mounting debt. The Bennett Group's stock plummeted. Panic hit the investors. I sat in class, watching the red lines on the stock market app. This was just the interest on the debt they owed me. I could almost see Mr. Bennett's face. One son in jail for drugs, and his entire empire collapsing because his loyal partners, the Sterlings, had stabbed him in the back. The Bennetts were finished. Tyler was abandoned. He was no longer a hero. He was a liability. The Sterling family, sensing the blood in the water, officially severed all ties with the Bennetts. Chloe's father reportedly forbid her from even mentioning Tyler's name. The golden couple were now each other's worst enemies. But Chloe thought she was safe. She thought that by sacrificing Tyler, she had won. She forgot that the person I hated most wasn't Tyler. It was her, because she was the one who had truly killed my sister. Chloe's reputation was in the trash, and her ego was shattered. She began to spiral, looking for someone to blame. She couldn't touch the Bennetts anymore, so she turned her sights back on my only weakness, Maya. Wednesday afternoon, Maya called me. Her voice was bright with excitement. "Caleb, you won't believe it. I got a job offer." My stomach dropped. "What kind of job?" "It's an executive assistant position at Vanguard Corp. A headhunter found my resume. They want me to come for an informal interview tomorrow evening at the Sapphire Lounge. The pay is insane. Vanguard Corp. Sapphire Lounge. Those names burned into my brain. In my past life, that informal interview was the trap that led Maya into a room full of monsters. Chloe had been there, sipping champagne while Maya was forced to drink special cocktails. My blood turned to ice. A murderous rage threatened to consume me. I forced my voice to stay steady. "That's amazing, Maya. You deserve it. Just dress up, okay? Make a good impression." After I hung up, I shattered the glass in my hand. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, staring at the red-eyed stranger in the mirror. "Calm down, Caleb. You aren't the helpless kid you were before." I made 3 moves. First, I bought a high-end pinhole camera disguised as a brooch and insisted Maya wear it for good luck. Second, I placed an anonymous call to the Vice Squad, reporting a high-end drug party and human trafficking ring at the Sapphire Lounge, giving them the exact room number and time. Third, I contacted Ben Wilson. He was an old-school investigative journalist who, in my past life, had tried to report on Maya's death before the Sterlings paid to have the story killed. I told Ben everything. He was livid. He agreed to meet me at the scene to catch the Sterlings in the act. The next night, Maya walked into the Sapphire Lounge. I sat in a van nearby with Ben and 2 plainclothes officers, watching the live feed from the brooch. Maya entered the Imperial Suite. "Miss Reed, please sit," a greasy voice said. "We're the hiring team for Vanguard. Let's talk about your future." The conversation was professional for 5 minutes. Then the tone shifted. "You're much prettier in person, Maya. An assistant job is a waste. Here, have a drink. Let's celebrate your new career." Maya tried to refuse. "I don't really drink, thank you." The atmosphere turned cold. Then a familiar, high-pitched voice rang out from the shadows of the suite. "Oh, stop being a bore, Maya. Your brother ruined my life. It's only fair you pay the tab." "Chloe." I watched the screen, my knuckles white as I gripped the armrest. On the feed, Maya backed away, her voice trembling. "What? What are you talking about? Who are you?" "I'm the girl who's going to make sure you never walk again," Chloe sneered, stepping into the light. She looked manic, her eyes wide with a sick, desperate glee. "Hold her down. Pour it down her throat." I didn't wait for another second. "Go!" I roared. We kicked the doors of the Imperial Suite open with enough force to crack the frames. The scene inside was a nightmare. 2 suited thugs were pinning Maya to a velvet sofa, trying to force a cloudy drink in her mouth. Chloe was standing to the side, filming it all on her phone, a twisted grin on her face. The moment we burst in, the world froze. Ben Wilson's camera flash went off like a lightning strike, capturing every sordid detail. The thugs scrambled, and Chloe's grin vanished, replaced by a mask of pure horror. Maya broke free and collapsed into my arms, sobbing. I held her tight, my muscles vibrating with the urge to kill everyone in that room. The police swarmed. "Police! Nobody move!" I walked up to Chloe. She was backed against the wall, her phone trembling in her hand. I leaned in, my voice a low, lethal whisper. I gave you a chance to walk away, Chloe. But you just couldn't help yourself, could you? The snake in the garden. High society heir is caught in sordid trap. Ben Wilson's expose hit the front pages and went viral within hours. He didn't hold back. The photos of Chloe Sterling, the city's sweetheart, orchestrating an assault were undeniable. The public went nuclear. Every bullying incident, every spoiled tantrum Chloe had ever thrown was unearthed by the internet detectives. She became the most hated woman in the state. Northridge Prep expelled her immediately. Her friends deleted their photos with her. The Sterling family name was dragged through the mud, and their business partners began fleeing the sinking ship. I heard Chloe's father had a heart attack from the stress. The Sterlings were forced to declare bankruptcy. To avoid the worst of the legal fallout, they shipped Chloe off to a restrictive, boot camp-style boarding school in a remote part of the Midwest, cutting off her trust fund and her access to the world. She went from a penthouse to a bunk bed in a locked dormitory. But I wasn't done. I went back to the county jail to visit Tyler Bennett. He looked like a ghost of himself. He'd lost 20 pounds, and the empty pant leg of his prison jumpsuit was a constant reminder of his failure. When he saw me through the glass, he lunged forward, pressing his face against the pane. Caleb, you have to help me. I didn't mean for any of it to happen. I picked up the phone. I can't help you, Tyler. His face crumbled. But I thought you should know. I continued calmly. Chloe is gone. Her family sold you out to save themselves. She told the DA that the drugs were all your idea, that you forced her to watch. She's at a private school now, probably laughing about how easy it was to pin it all on the crippled kid. I lied, of course. I wanted him to know the bitterness of being discarded. Oh, and when she tried to hurt my sister, she was smiling, Tyler. She didn't give a damn about you. Tyler's eyes turned a dark, bloodshot red. He began to shake, a low growl building in his throat. That bitch. I did everything for her. I ruined my life for her. I'm going to kill her, he screamed, slamming his fist against the glass until the guards dragged him away. The hook was set. I met with Tyler's father, who was now a broken man living in a modest apartment. I told him I had a way to get Tyler's sentence reduced, a deal for extraordinary cooperation. The price. Everything he knew about the Sterling Group's illegal offshore accounts. The Bennetts burned the Sterlings to the ground. With the evidence of financial fraud provided by the Bennetts, the FBI moved in. Chloe's parents were arrested. The Sterling Group didn't just go bankrupt. It was liquidated. Chloe was brought back from her boarding school. Not to go home, but to face a judge for her role in the Sapphire Lounge incident and the conspiracy to stage the original car accident. She was photographed at the airport, looking bedraggled and broken. No makeup, messy hair, wearing a cheap coat. She saw me standing in the crowd of reporters. Our eyes met. In that moment, she finally understood that I was the architect of her ruin. Caleb Reed, she shrieked, her voice echoing through the terminal like a banshee. I'll kill you. I'll see you in hell. I just watch her be dragged away. Chloe Sterling was sentenced to 12 years. Tyler Bennett, for his cooperation, got 5 years with a chance of parole. But he had nothing left. No money, no family, and a heart full of nothing but hatred for the girl he once loved. The game was over. But for them, the real hell was just beginning. The Sterling Empire was a memory. Chloe was a number in a women's correctional facility. Tyler was a pariah. I heard Tyler's father officially disowned him after the sentencing. The Bennetts moved to a different state, leaving Tyler to rot in a halfway house after his early release was denied. As for Chloe, life in the state pen wasn't like her private school. Without her family's money to buy protection, she was at the bottom of the food chain. A year later, I managed to get a look at a smuggled piece of security footage from her block. It was during yard time. Chloe, her hair cut short and jagged, her skin sallow, was scrubbing the concrete floors of the communal showers. A larger inmate walked by and intentionally kicked her bucket over, spilling dirty water everywhere. Watch it, princess, the woman spat. Chloe didn't say a word. She just knelt there, staring at the floor, her spirit completely broken. I remembered how she had made my sister beg for her life. This was the cosmic balance. I deleted the video. I had one final act to perform. I arranged a victim offender mediation session. It was a formal request that Tyler, as part of his rehabilitation, had to attend. He was brought to the prison where Chloe was being held. They met in a small, glass-walled room. No guards were inside, but several were watching from the door. Tyler, leaning heavily on his crutches, stared at the shell of the woman Chloe had become. Chloe, he rasped, look at us. Chloe looked at his missing leg and burst into a fit of hysterical, mocking laughter. You're still a loser, Tyler. A pathetic, one-legged loser. Did you think coming here would make me love you? Tyler's face turned a dark, bruised purple. I lost everything for you. My family, my future. You lost it because you're stupid. Chloe screamed. You couldn't even frame one poor kid without getting caught. You're the reason I'm in here. They fell upon each other like rabid dogs, screaming insults, dredging up every dirty secret they had shared. I know you were sleeping with your father's partner, Tyler yelled, and I know you were skimming off your own family's accounts. Chloe shrieked, lunging at him with her fingernails. The guards rushed in to pull them apart. They were both screaming, their faces twisted with a hatred so pure it was almost beautiful. I watched it all from a monitor in the warden's office. This was their eternal sentence, to be forever bonded by their mutual loathing. I walked out of the prison and into the crisp autumn air. The nightmare of my past life was finally, officially, over. A week later, I took Maya to a quiet cemetery on the outskirts of the city. I found an empty, unmarked plot of land. Who are we visiting, Caleb? She asked softly. Just an old friend, I said. Someone who didn't make it. I stood before the empty grass and spoke to the ghost of the boy I used to be. I told him everything. I told him how they had paid, how Maya was safe, and how we were finally free. You can rest now, Caleb, I whispered. I've got it from here. The wind picked up, blowing a few stray leaves across the grass. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders that I hadn't even realized I was carrying. I turned to Maya. She was smiling at me, the sun catching the highlights in her hair. She looked healthy. She looked happy. Let's go home, I said. A year passed. I received my acceptance letter to a top-tier university in Chicago for finance. Over the last year, using my knowledge of the future, I'd made some smart, quiet plays in the stock market. It wasn't millions, but it was more than enough for a fresh start. I used the money to buy a small storefront in a nice neighborhood near the campus. I helped Maya set up the flower shop she'd always dreamed of. She called it the New Bloom. I walked into the shop one sunny afternoon. The air was thick with the scent of lilies and fresh rain. I wasn't the cold, calculating reaper anymore. I was just a student, a brother, a person with a future. Maya looked up from a bouquet of roses, her face lit with a genuine, peaceful smile. Thinking about something, Caleb? I shook my head and took the glass of lemonade she offered, just thinking that the weather is perfect today. I never told her about the blood and the shadows. I never told her how close she had come to the edge of the abyss. I had built a wall between her and the storm, and I would keep it there for the rest of our lives. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Chloe Sterling and Tyler Bennett denied parole following violent altercation. I glanced at the screen for a second, then locked it and slid it into my pocket. Those people were ghosts. They didn't belong in this sunlight. The game was over. My life was finally beginning. I watched Maya work, watched the people passing by outside the window, laughing and living their lives. I finally understood. The point of revenge wasn't the destruction of your enemies. It was the protection of the people you loved. It was the chance to start over. It was the bloom after the frost. Story complete.